Hello everyone, my name is Fangfang from Iwate University, Japan, and my advisor is Professor Noriaki Endo. Today I'm going to talk about the survey on the behaviors and the chief winner to Japan of Chinese travelers who are living in coastal area under the zero COVID-19 policy. This research aims to evaluate the current status of Chinese travelers. We conduct a survey of the Chinese travelers who were traveling on Great Shanghai area in China under the national zero COVID-19 policy. The surveys for this research were conducted during the following two periods. The first period was conducted during the period from September 28th to October 7th, 2022. The second was conducted during the period from October 29th to November 16th, 2022. Both periods were before the Chinese national COVID-19 tolerance in December 2022. The survey samples consist of the following Chinese travelers who were traveling on the Great Shanghai area and they are from Shanghai, Jiangsu Province, Zhejiang Province, Fujian Province, Guangdong Province, and others. They are all were interviewed face-to-face using interview papers. Well, the behavior of Chinese travelers was rather moderate for travel during the COVID restriction, especially for the generation from 20 to 29 years old and the generation from 30 to 39 years old. On the other hand, that was not so changed during the COVID-19 restriction as to the under 20 years old generation. Think of the after COVID-19 era, though the generation from 30 to 39 years old have enough winners for the trip to Japan. The generation from 20 to 29 years old are neutral of that. We are extremely interested in the near future inclination as to Chinese inbound to Japan. Okay, now let's move on to the to the instruction. Chinese tourists to Japan were increasing before COVID-19 infection occurred in the whole world, just as the table 1 shown. Though the infection has not ended completely by now, we think it is time to prepare for the inbound visitors in the near future. Therefore, our first aim of this research is to survey the behaviors and the trip winner to Japan of Chinese travelers who are living in coastal area under the zero COVID-19 policy. In addition, our next interest is that comparatively, quite small Chinese people visited to Japan's northeast Tohoku area even before COVID-19 compared to the other areas such as Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto. Well, Tohoku area is right here. Tohoku area is located to the north of Tokyo area. Here's the Tokyo area. And people can move actually directly from Tokyo by blue train, but a few Chinese people have the recognition of the Tohoku areas. Well, therefore, our second aim of this research is to evaluate the current interest of Chinese tourists for Tohoku area quantitatively and make a discussion how to increase the inbound visitor to there, especially Miyako area right here, which is located in the Pacific coast of Iwate Prefecture. Okay, now let's move on to the methodology. Well, firstly, research areas and periods. The survey for this research was conducted during the following two periods. The first was conducted during the period from September 28th to October 7th, 2022. And the second was conducted during the period from October 29th to November 16th, 2022. Both periods were before the Chinese national COVID tolerance in December 2022. The survey samples consist of following Chinese travelers who were traveling on the Great Shanghai area and they are from Shanghai, Jiangsu Province, Zhejiang Province, Fujian Province, Guangdong Province, and others. They all were interviewed face-to-face using interview papers. The attribute of the samples were described as figure 1. Well, Secondly, surveys. We conduct the questionnaire surveys which gather the following items. Well, attributes, like attributes, age, gender, where the person lives, number of visits to Japan, numbers of visits to Tohoku areas, and how they got information about Japan and why they visited Japan. Well, the last one is analysis. Based on the values which were acquired from the surveys, we conducted a correspondence and list 2, 3, 4. All right, here we are results. The firstly, Chinese travelers' behaviors on the COVID-19 in coastal area of China. Based on these values, a corresponding analysis from figure 2 to 6 has been conducted. Correspondence analysis to 2, 3, 4 can evaluate the relationship between two variables. Well, secondly, frequency of the trip. Table 2 shows the frequency of the trip after COVID-19 for each Chinese tourist generation. Figure 2 is the result of the correspondence analysis, which is the relationship between frequency of the trip after COVID-19 and the Chinese tourist ages. This figure means as follows. Firstly, as to the frequency of the trip after COVID-19, the trip frequency decrease rate for the generation from 20 to 29 years old and the generation from 30 to 39 years old are comparatively higher than that of other generations. On the other hand, the trip frequency for under 20 group was not changed so much compared to the other generations. Thirdly, number of the visited places. Table 3 shows the number of visited places after COVID-19 for each Chinese tourist generation. Figure 3 is the result of a correspondence analysis, which is the relationship between the number of visited places after COVID-19 and Chinese tourist ages. The figure means as follows. Well, as to the number of visited places after COVID-19, the decline rate for the generation from 20 to 29 years old and the generation from 30 to 39 years old are comparatively higher than that of other generations. On the other hand, the number of visited places for under 20 group was not changed so much compared to the other generations. The fourth one is usage of public transportation. Table 4 shows the usage of public transportation after COVID for each Chinese tourist generation. Figure 4 is the result of the corresponding analysis, which the relationship between the usage of public transportation after COVID and Chinese tourist generation. This figure means as follows. As to the usage of public transportation after COVID-19, the decline rate for the generation from 30 to 39 years old is comparatively higher than that of other generations. And the decline rate for the generation from 20 to 29 years old is not so higher than that of the generation from 30 to 39 years old. On the other hand, the usage of public transportation for under 20 group was not changed so much compared to the other generations. Okay, the fifth one is winners of the trip to Japan after COVID-19. Table 6 shows the winners of the trip to Japan after COVID-19 for each Chinese tourist generation. Figure 6 is the result of a correspondence analysis, which shows the relationship between the winners for the trip to Japan after COVID-19 and Chinese tourist generations. The figure means as follows. The winners for the trip to Japan after COVID for the generation from 30 to 39 years old is comparatively more positive than that of other generations. On the other hand, the winners for the trip to Japan after COVID-19 for the generation from 20 to 29 years old is comparatively more negative than that of other generations. And the winners of the trip to Japan after COVID-19 for under 20 years old is more positive than that of the generation from 20 to 29 years old. Alright, lastly, Chinese tourist preference for Tohoku areas, Miyako City. Table 7 shows the Chinese tourist preference for the sightseeing resorts of Tohoku areas, Miyako City. Like, here is the figure 8. Table 7. And figure 7 is the result of the correspondence analysis, which shows the relationship between the Chinese tourist preference for Tohoku areas, Miyako City, and tourist generations. Well, just as the figure 8 shows, the first picture is Jodo Gahama. The second one is Ao no Dokuzu. The third one is Bingdong. And the last one is Umi Nekomadu. Well, these figures means as follows. As to the Chinese tourist preference for Tohoku areas in Miyako City, the preference of Bingdong, the third one, Bingdong for the group of under 19 years old is higher than that of other generations. Well, the third one is as to the Chinese tourist preference for Tohoku areas, Miyako City, the preference of Jodo Gahama, the first one, the first picture, and Umineko Madowa. Umineko Mado is the last one. And for the group of the generation from 20 to 29 years old are higher than those of other generations. As to the Chinese tourist preference for Tohoku areas, Miyako City, the preference of Ao no Dokusu, the second picture. For the group of 30, for the generation from 30 to 39 years old is higher than that of other generations. Okay, now let's move on to discussion. All right, the behavior of Chinese travelers was rather moderate for travel during the COVID-19 restriction, especially for the generation from 20 to 29 years old and the generation from 30 to 39 years old. On the other hand, that was not so changed during the COVID-19 restriction as to the under 20 years old generation. Thinking of the after COVID-19 era, though the generation from 30 to 39 years old have enough windows for the trip to Japan, the generation from 20 to 29 years old are neutral for that. As to the Chinese tourist preference for Tohoku areas in Miyako City, the preference of Ao no Tohoku for the group of 30, the generation the 30 to 39 years old is higher. The preference of Jodo Gahama and Umineko for the group of 20 to 29 years old are higher than those of other generations. We are extremely interested in the near future inclination as to Chinese travel inbound to Japan, especially to Tohoku areas, Miyako City. Okay, here is the references. Thanks for listening.